intuition is, how about I do it this way? Not mind. That
Mm.
is, I'll be very zen about it, right? It's not mind. Why? Mind is always talking. Mind has all these ideas, these concepts, these views, these opinions, these preferences, these likes, and not likes. It's very, very busy. You know that, right? And sometimes it's hard to stop. When that's going on, it's not intuition.
On intuition and prayer.
Mm. Mm.
And we're going to look at two questions from this chapter. The first one is, what is intuition and how can you distinguish it from mental projections? I'm very
Mm.
interested to hear what all three of you have to say about this as highly intuitive humans. Michael, go first.
It's a beautiful question, right? And it's funny, Tony mentioned that some people think that we're different, right? That he's a pusher and a fighter and this and that. But ultimately, he's very intuitive. I've
Mm.
seen him, I've watched him work, and that's where all his power comes from. It doesn't come from manipulation and trying and striving. No, it comes from being in tune, all right? But intuition is, how about I do it this way? Not mind. That
Mm.
is, I'll be very zen about it, right? It's not mind. Why? Mind is always talking. Mind has all these ideas, these concepts, these views, these opinions, these preferences, these likes and not likes. It's very, very busy. You know that, right? And sometimes it's hard to stop. When that's going on, it's not intuition. That's mental thinking. That's trying to figure it out with the past experiences you've had. How, based on those, how do I decide how to act, what to do, what to write? People get writer's block, let's say, all right? And because they're trying to think it out. The truth of the matter is, when the mind quiets down, there's a higher energy, a much clearer energy. It actually, I'm not getting into the spirituality of it, but it comes from consciousness itself. It comes from the witness. The fact that you're in there noticing, if you're in there noticing that the mind is being neurotic, you're not neurotic. You're watching a neurotic mind. If you're in there watching a mind that seems to be depressed, you're not depressed. You're noticing a depressed mind. And that's a real freeing thing to understand that you can free yourself. And intuition basically says there's something coming in from a higher plane. I don't want to get mystical. It's just from some has more knowledge, there's more wisdom. Okay. It just happens naturally if you're out of the way. If you're not out of the way, all you hear is your mind. All you do is get tense, anxious. Did I make the right decision? And so on. Intuition. I told a story once when I was, I had a computer company and we did software and it did very well. It was a decent sized company. And I would sit in design meetings because I wrote the software originally. And I'd have five or six very, very brilliant programmers, designers sit in the meeting. And I wouldn't sit at the front of the table. I would sit on the couch behind. And they would talk about a topic. And somehow, instantaneously, I would see the answer what they were talking about. But I would not say one word. If it took an hour, 2 hours, they always got to the place that instantaneously I saw in the
Mm.
very beginning. That's not crediting me. That doesn't mean I'm smart. You understand that? It's intuition. It's because I meditated many years, all right, or whatever reason, right? I just know that there is a knowing that is deeper than the mind. It's beyond the mind, and you don't have to go find it. Just quiet the mind down. The answer is to quiet the mind down, not to seek intuition. It will be naturally there. All right. So there's a little bit about intuition. That's my view.
Mm.
Tony
Well,
and Sage, and how do you distinguish it from mental projections?
Oh, great one.
I think that's a great question. I think mental projections, I think, are things you're trying to manufacture in response to your fear or your desire. Intuition just flows without any thought. I mean, it's hard to describe. It's exactly what I was describing on stage. And if somebody stands up and it just, you step in the moment without me. It's a physical stepping. I step physically out off that stage to go towards the person. And as I'm moving towards that person, it's already done. And it's not I'm so smart. It's not that I have all the answers. It's just I just know it. And because I really believe that when you're trying to serve something greater than yourself, that is when grace flows. And so my intention is nothing but to serve them. And I know it will be done. And I know it's not me. And a combination of those somehow makes it flow. But I love something that you said in the book, Mickey, that I just thought was awesome. You know, you said, I may not quoting exactly, but you said the question is not whether God exists. The question is whether or not you're willing to stop talking long enough to listen.
That's right.
Because most people have so much mental chatter inside their head that they're not able to let that flow come through. It happens so fast. It's not even like listening. It's to me, it's like feeling, and it just happens.
Right.
And so I know that difference versus when I'm trying to find a solution. Even in creating things, you know, we're privileged enough to feed a lot of people. We fed a billion people here because I got fed when I was 11 years old, and our family had no food. Now we're doing a 100 billion meal thing. And I woke up on January 1 with this intuition. It was like, there was a question first. It's like, how would I make this year feel like one of the best years of my life? I was like, I'm going to fulfill the balance of those 100 billion meals. We had 62 billion meals we've done. And I had no idea how I was going to do it. It was just like total belief and trust. And then, you know, as Mickey said, suddenly you get, you know, ideas start flashing through that you've not done anything for. And then people start calling me and things start happening. And we're going to complete it more than that this year. Someone's providing 40 billion meals, one country I'm working with. You know, I came up with another, and these things just flow.
Yes.
So I think the difference is if it's effortful, it's usually thinking. If it's flow, it's usually intuition. And I think that intuition does have an intention. I don't know if Mickey, if you agree with that, there's a higher intention, but my intention is not attached to the outcome. I ask that or something greater be done. And I trust that whatever is right, you know, it's thy will be done, not my will be done, right? That flow. But there is an intention in my experience. But then there's that total trust and that total belief. And it happens. It happened after a while. It happens so consistently that you don't question anymore. You just know, especially when you're trying to serve something more than yourself.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Yes.
That's the essence.
Yes, it really is, Mickey. I also noticed for myself, you know, it's everything that led up to this conversation and the letting go. It's my experience that we begin to notice. And we're sensorial beings, and there's so much information that's happening within that as a younger version of myself, I tuned out because I had too much activity happening in mind. And what I recognize is sometimes it's a sense of things. Like we all know what it's like to walk in somewhere and feel uneasy. You know, feel uneasy, that's information. Or, you know, to feel like an electrical kind of a, you know, an impulse of like, gosh, this feels aligned. I feel like it goes up and down. I always tell them I feel God in my tush because that's where I feel like a yes. And it sounds
She
ridiculous.
does.
I really do. Because
That's not where it shows up for me, just so you know.
it could be that Shakti energy, but I think we're sensing and perceiving energetically at all times, and it's a matter of noticing. And my no feels it feels like uneasiness in my gut. And then a yes just feels, I'm not hearing perfection through, I'm not even per se seeing it. It's sensation. And I look at that as information. And then that leads to flow. That leads to flow. And I'm always so humbled by, you know, as we tune into life, as we connect to life, not only externally, but internally, there's just so much information that's so beautiful and makes life kinder and saner. When I think of different stages of my life, when I had a sense of something and I ignored it, that usually always ended up being a painful circumstance. And yet I had a sense ahead of time. I didn't act on it. I wasn't true to that inner sense of knowing. And Mickey, that's one of the most powerful, profound gifts that you've bestowed upon so many of us, because the path of letting go, the outcome of that, or one of the gifts or the abundance of that, the inner abundance, is actually tuning in and noticing this communion of information that's being offered within us and around us. And I really noticed a difference with that at this stage of my life. So thank you, Mickey.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.